After the brutal bumps of Sebring International Raceway, it's a return to the green, hilly beauty that is Virginia International Raceway, here located in the southernmost area of Virginia. And it is a great day for racing. DJ Clark alongside Kyle Heyer, ready to bring you the action here from what a place that has been described as heaven on earth. And I have to agree with that wholesale. This is one of my favorite places to come racing, Kyle. And as GR Cup has a habit of doing, it always puts on a fantastic show.
Oh, it really does. And it's about the halfway point in the season as well. And the championship continues to heat up here. 26 drivers on the entry list. Some new names to talk about, some returning names to the series. But qualifying was so much fun. I can't wait to go through the starting grid and talk about how competitive this series has gotten in its third year. I have no idea who's going to win this race, and that wasn't always true in the past, DJ. So I can't wait to get this race underway and see who's got the stuff today.
That's very true. The dominance of Tyler Gonzalez and then Gresham Wagner has really given way to absolute parity in this field. We talk about names like Bell, like Kohlbecker, still looking for that first victory on the season, Workman, Weisenberg, so many different drivers. Could it be a new name rising to the top here today? Great performances by Max Schweid, as well as Ethan Goulart. So plenty of storylines to follow and plenty of championship combinations and permutations now that Weston Workman has finally broken through and gotten not one, but two victories last time out in Sebring.
Yeah, he racked up a couple trophies for the shelf, points in the points column, and certainly the confidence meter went way, way up last time out at Sebring, but he's going to have to battle Jackson Bell, Lucas Weisenberg, and others for this title this year. He has a pretty sizable advantage, though. 18 points over Jackson Bell in the title fight right now, but think how quickly that can go away. 25 points to win, 18 for second, a 7-point swing for finishing second versus first. That means that when you're going toe-to-toe with a driver today at the end of this 45-minute event, that one position can make a huge difference before we head to Road America next month.
It certainly can, but before we get to Road America, we head to this Virginia International Raceway as cars take out of the paddock right now. This is a just over 3-mile course. Maybe not the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. Really only two that you're going to be looking at, but this is a driver's delight for sure.
It is, and last year we had odd conditions, sort of rainy, drying, in between intermediate conditions, a choice of wet versus dry continental tire. This year, partly cloudy skies. They got all the rain earlier in the weekend, so now it's just about going fast here, DJ.
Well, you mentioned just how great qualifying was earlier. Let's look at that grid. It is Jackson Bell and Spike Kohlbecker in the front row, followed by Max Schweid, the best qualifying performance we've seen for the young Tech Sport driver. Weston Workman, talked about him a little bit earlier. He'll start fourth, where Robusto is fifth, followed by Lucas Weisenberg, the family-owned driver. His way forward, Christian Rear for Tech Sport and Ford Koch make up row 4. Then Ethan Goulart and Jackson Tovo round out your top 10.
Happy birthday to the Tovos. Turned 15 earlier today. Ethan Tovo starts 11th. Beltray Curtis in 12th. In the Copeland number 5. Jensen Zafronis, 13th place in the number 41 rather. Then Isabella Robusto makes her return to the championship in 14th place. Massimo Sinceri and Ethan Ayers make up row number 8. Then row 9, it's Brett Kowalski for Tech Sport Racing in the number 15. Patrick Brunson starts 18th with Livio Galanti and Carl Foreman wrapping out the top 20.
Max Stallone, a new name in the championship for PT Autosport, lines up 21st, followed by Peyton Fan in 22nd. And then rounding out your 12th and final row, it's James Klimas and John Lennon, Skip Barber Racing and BSI, respectively. As we take a look at these cars making their way on the pace lap right now, this is one of my favorite places, not just on this track, but anywhere in the world. The Rising S is a gradual uphill that runs into the very fearsome right-hander that is South Bend. It is a test of car and driver for sure.
It's a commitment test everywhere on this racetrack. South Bend's a great example of it. On the brakes into Oak Tree, that's a tricky braking zone as well, because you sort of have to release the brake pedal before you get back on it to rotate through a corner, where if you don't get on throttle before your foe, you lose them down the Madison Avenue straightaway, up into Roller Coaster, which is the next big commitment zone, uphill braking zone. Then the whole earth drops away from you. You drop stories and stories and stories. Commitment, compression, all the way back around over a 3.27-mile lap. It is a roller coaster, not even just that section. The whole lap is around here. But the key to the race here today, DJ, for the front runners at the very least, don't let anyone get clear racetrack and nobody in the rearview mirror. You can't let Jackson Bell, you can't let Spike Kohlbecker or Max Schweid get clear road with you battling behind. They're going to drive away from you. You have to keep the leader in your sights if you want to win today.
Exactly. You have to keep the pressure up. That's going to be the name of the game, and you are going to hear us talk about pressure, pressure, pressure all day long as they form up side by side, coming into that roller coaster section that you talked about. Steep downhill here to the right and to the left, and then coming down into Hog Pen. We've seen many a driver go off here today, but Jackson Bell will control the field as the Toyota GR86 safety car scampers its way down into pit lane. Bell has control of the field. Here we go as we get ready to go racing for the next round in the Toyota GR Cup North American Series. It's Kohlbecker, it's Bell on the front row. It's a long front straightaway here until we get to that green flag zone and the acceleration zone, but the field forming up nicely behind. Everybody's going to be looking ahead here, waiting for the twitch on that throttle pedal. As here we go for another 45 minutes of racing action. Green flag in the air. Here we go. Jackson Bell gets a decent getaway, but Spike Kohlbecker going to keep right with him. Now slots back into line. Schweid going to try to pull off there, and it looks like Weston Workman wolves to the outside. Here comes Weisenberg up the middle.
3 wide to the inside of Weston Workman, going to force that Lucas Racing 46. Mirrors go flying, and already the hip and shoulders are out. I was going to say otherwise it was a pretty tidy start, but the wing mirrors have folded in already in the first 2 corners.
And here comes Weisenberg, not content with jumping up to 4th. He wants 3rd, down to the inside of Max Schweid going into NASCAR Bend. A little bit of a bobble there potentially for Spike Kohlbecker, but everybody on the move here early.
Yeah, that was real aggressive by the 46 of Lucas Weisenberg. Didn't qualify quite as well as he wanted, so how do you solve that problem? Well, you pass them all in turn 1, I guess, but he's up a couple positions now to 3rd place and chasing down Spike Kohlbecker and Jackson Bell through the climbing S's.
And this is a circuit that he knows well. He got his maiden victory here in the inaugural season back 2 years ago. As here they come up through the S's and into the snake and into the rising S's, having to go single file. Weisenberg not done. Kohlbecker knows it, going defensive into South Bend.
Yeah, big slide for Max Schweid. That was almost off the road there. Corrected the tank slapper and into Oak Tree for the first time. Slide for the leader. Jackson Bell out of control here.
Out of control, but keeps it together on exit. Is that going to present an opportunity here for Spike Kohlbecker or indeed Lucas Weisenberg? Everybody else looks like they get through Oak Tree nice and cleanly. Bell got a better escape there out of Oak Tree than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, controlled the slide, but if you get to Oak Tree and you get to the apex, no one can pass you there. So as long as you gather and pack up, it's not like you can really build much of a run because the apex is so tight. But he did manage to recover pretty nicely. Weisenberg is going to have a look here at Kohlbecker. No, he stays in line on the run-through roller coaster the first time. We saw an incident here in qualifying because that braking zone is so challenging. You come through a rise and a fall on the run to turn 14.
Yeah, Weisenberg may have held off for the moment, but he has not done on Spike Kohlbecker. Look for a move down into Horseshoe, also known as turn 1 here on this Virginia International Raceway circuit. Trying to find a little bit of a run here. Oh, 1 car off into the back. That is going to be the purple and orange machine.
71, a Christian Weir, new livery on board the car here this weekend. Big bobble, gathered it up though. Ford Koch goes by, so does the 31 of Jackson Tovo on through. And more momentum lost. There's Beltray Curtis, a very strong start for the Copeland Motorsports number 5, and a lunge up the inside of Weir. We're going to be 3 wide of the backdrop as well. Livio Galanti fielding off an attack from Max Stallone in the 88 and spin at turn 1.
I believe that is...
It's Galanti, I think. It's the 89, yep.
It's the 89. Good call. That is Livio Galanti for Eagles Canyon Raceway. We'll have to see if he gets refired. Oh, big off there for Robusto, but he's going to gather it back up underneath him.
He did, and everyone else up here has stayed single file for the latter half of the first lap of the first half of this one. Robusto going for a ride through the dirt. Common place to do it at the exit of NASCAR Bend. They gave you a little extra pavement there a number of years ago, and now it's just part of the normal racing line. But you see Galanti just trying to get moving again. The grass is wet here from a couple days of torrential rain. Last night, a huge storm moved through the area and completely soaked this entire facility, and that grass is still very slippery if you get yourself off down one of those slopes off track.
Robusto under pressure there a little bit from Weston Workman. Couple of slip and slides there going through South Bend. Now let's keep our eye up at the front of the field.
Oh,
Bell.
Bell.
Bell goes off a little bit. That's going to open up the door for Kohlbecker. That's going to open up the door for Weisenberg. And here comes Schweid as well.
A little contact there as they kind of shake and shuffle. Schweid's trying to stay in the slipstream, hip and shoulder. But again, Bell charging a little hard into Oak Tree. It bit him much worse this time. And Robusto pulling up behind. Those cars look like they're teammates, but they are not. Just similar colors, an orange and blue. And Schweid Not going to have the advantage of the draft. We're going to go 3 across on Madison Avenue.
That's Robusto to your right. That's Jackson Bell in the middle. Schweid backs
Careful,
out of it.
boys.
They're still going to be side by side into roller coaster. Good attack there from Jackson Bell. Full course yellow. Full course yellow has been deployed.
Yeah, I'm curious if that, yep, it is for the 89. It did not get moving because of that wet grass down there at turn 1. And it's going to bring the field under control of the Toyota GR86 safety car for the first time, just 5 minutes into this race. And they have uncorked the action cap, haven't they? This was fun.
All right, looks like we're going to get an idea of exactly what happened back at Oak Tree. This was, again, that moment for Bell. Kyle, you hit the nail on the head, just too much speed into the corner.
Yeah, just charged it, and he didn't even get to the grass. He just got to the curbing, but the painted curbs don't have quite as much grip as the asphalt, and as soon as he hit the curbing, he just lost the nose of the car, dropped the tires off track, recovered pretty gracefully, but, you know, you can make one mistake, but the second one is what cost him. Oh man, that 15 car. All right, so I think if I had to make a guess, and we'll start slotting the puzzle pieces together, I knew that the 15 was near the 89 when this incident happened. I can't tell you that they definitely made contact, but I can tell you that one car stopped and one car has damage, and they were both near each other. So deductive reasoning tells me that maybe, just maybe, there's been a collision here.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment here at this point. That tech sport car, though, very torn up for Kowalski. As you can see, just flapping in the wind. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a black flag issue that he's got to come down to pit lane, because those are some pieces that could go flying.
Yeah, they're just plastic, so, you know, we'll see what race control thinks of that, but the 15 car certainly looking a little decidedly secondhand, a little less pretty than it was earlier today. Now,
also looks like a piece dragging onto the pavement there as well if you look underneath the car, so that's multiple layers.
The front valence splitter assembly there, yeah. See it all folded up there. That's an odd impact, actually. But the 15 was on the receiving end of a collision from his teammate in qualifying earlier today, but it was minor, and it didn't cause any significant damage. It was up that roller coaster, just a miscalculation in the brake zone. But that is a lot of damage, and I wonder if that was actually a single car incident off track somewhere, because I don't think that damage lines up very nicely with what happened to the 89. So I do see there's parts of pieces at the outside of South Bend there. So maybe that was self-induced.
It could be. We'll see if we can figure out and get to the bottom of that for you. Meanwhile, Spike Kohlbecker does lead this race over Weisenberg and Bell, and I think the silver lining here for Jackson Bell has got to be the fact that his former teammate and championship points leader, Weston Workman, currently sits in 7th position. So that point swing, like you talked about a little bit earlier, even if Bell doesn't have the best day, I think if he stays just ahead of Workman, that's going to get done what he needs to get done in this championship.
Yeah, certainly. That would really swing the favor back towards Jackson Bell. We have 2 races in a weekend, right? So certainly there's still tomorrow to sort out, but Weston Workman was very fast in qualifying, just not quite fast enough to put himself up on the front row, and just wasn't going the right direction in the early stages of this race. But the confidence is there. We saw it. He's rocking a new haircut here this weekend as well, which I think was made us all giggle a little bit, but just because we were told that his mom said that he had more hair the day he was born than he does now. But
everybody goes through that phase where you got to shave your head.
Look, try a new style. Why not? More aerodynamic.
Exactly.
Is that haircut homologated, Weston?
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll get to the bottom of that one as well. It does seem like that the incident involving car 89 is under review.
Yeah, so curious to see how that'll answer a lot of questions once we see that come through. But in the meantime, note the purple and white car, the 72. Ethan Goulart running in 6th place right now. He's returning to VIR. This is his first full season in Toyota GR Cup North America, but he made his debut here last season and ran up inside the top 5 before a mechanical issue took him out of the running. Was very quick in qualifying for much of the session, was on provisional pole, but we mentioned he had that slight incident with the 15 car that put him down the order just a little bit, but here he is P6, and he's got great racecraft.
He does, and like you said, kind of a coming out party last year at VIR. I can also report that it does look like Kowalski is down into pit lane.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Judging by the damage that we saw on that car. But to touch on Goulart, a lot of experience in one-make racing, and he's been impressive so far this year, just hasn't quite cracked through to get his first victory there. And is that the 15? Because that car looks shockingly good, all things considered, if it just hit the pit box 42 seconds ago.
I believe it is. That's for tech sport.
Man, that's tech sport racing. Pit stop.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it's just an issue where they just had to tear some things off of it and pop the hood up a little bit. poking out from the car. It was just a lot of the sort of cosmetic and aerodynamic things that you saw.
Ford Koch in the Copeland Motorsports number 21. Again, another driver that we've been watching so far this year. Has a couple of rounds where he earned some points, most notably at the second round of the season at Circuit of the Americas, a top 5 there in race 2. That was his best finish he's had in his career. He's 10th in the championship standings. And again, when we talked to him at Sonoma, he just said, I don't want the team to be the variable. I want to be the variable. And that he has been this year, but less variable than last. So moving his way forward each and every round.
Yeah, a good top 10 here for Ford. I think will go a long, long way to solidify himself a little bit better, to put himself into a good position. There he is, Copeland Motorsports. Obviously, Copeland, one of the premier teams in this Toyota GR Cup North America Series. They've really established themselves in the last year, I would say, in particular, in the last 2, as the dominant force.
Yeah, they're so present in one-make racing paddocks around the country. And here in Toyota GR Cup, first season with Tyler Gonzalez, really the outstanding driver that won the championship by quite a ways. And then, of course, the following year, Gresham Wagner for Copeland Motorsports. And this year, one could argue that perhaps Jackson Bell was going to be the one to be the hot shoe. But it's been a much more even lineup this year at the front of the field between Workman and Bell and Weisenberg, trading victories. Of course, we saw Will Robusto grab a victory at Sonoma as well. So 4 different winners in the early part of the year, and I'm sure we still have more to go. Spike Kohlbecker has yet to win with RVA Graphics Motorsports by Speed Syndicate, but DJ, I'd like to point out that the yellow car that Kohlbecker is driving is leading this race.
He is leading this race, and even more importantly, lights are out on the Toyota GR86 safety car, so we're going back to racing.
Full stack up here. Everyone's antsy to get back restarted.
Lucas Weisenberg is very, very excited to go racing here. He is all up the back there of Spike Kohlbecker as they come down through roller coaster.
That aggression is going to win you a race, or it's going to get you a penalty. One of the two. I think for everyone, they hope it's the former, but here we go.
As there they go, earlier restart zone here. Kohlbecker gets on the loud pedal. Better run here for Jackson Bell. He's going to be all over the back of that number 46 Lucas Racing Machine. A little bit of a smoke going up into the air. I wonder if that was a little bit of a brake knock situation where they were just trying to warm things up and maybe caught it. But here comes Weisenberg down to the outside, looking to the outside of Kohlbecker. He's going to be later on the binders, trying to go the long way around. Behind him, there's contact!
And Robusto spins off the nose of Schweid, who has to come to a stop. And there was Goulart to the inside of him, too. Yellow flag waving turn 1. Robusto the wrong way around at the horseshoe. And here comes Weisenberg, takes the lead from Kohlbecker.
He got it. I saw him coming around the inside there, and he just held it out. Lucas Weisenberg not to be denied here today. Jackson Bell now going to look. Ooh. Big slide for Lucas as he comes through left hook, but he's going to keep it together as they now work their way through Snake.
To give you trophies for trying. Weisenberg's already won that one, I think, and he's got the right side wing mirror folded in. Can't even see out the passenger side of the car. Kohlbecker will want this back. Here he comes up to the climbing S's, but not close enough for overlap.
Aggressive, looking to the inside, seeing if he can maybe get into the mind there of Lucas Weisenberg, but it's a 4-car breakaway. Weisenberg, Kohlbecker, Bell, and Goulart up at the front of the field.
Yeah, and again, 3-way fight here, and Goulart, you pointed out, in this mix, but that contact at turn 1, the 98 and the 2 were involved, but the 72 was there as well to the inside of Schweid, so Schweid left space for the 72, and that's why there was contact. So curious to see what the call is there as Weisenberg drops the Continentals in the dirt, leaving turn 12.
Quite a few drivers following his lead as they make their way onto Madison Avenue, but it didn't affect Weisenberg's speed. We are looking here as Weisenberg just defensively goes to the inside. Going to take a look at the replay and exactly what happened down into turn 1. Kyle, talk us through it.
Watch the 72 there on the brake. So Schweid leaves the door open there, and that's what forced the contact to happen. So I can't say that that's on the 98 there, DJ, but we'll let race control handle that. And as we go back to the 55 of the 2, these are live shots here. That's the 7, rather, of Jackson Bell, but it's still the same order.
Bell was able to get the pass done on Kohlbecker.
Right.
And now he's trying to take a look at the leader here of Lucas Weisenberg. Gets a better line through Hogpen. Weisenberg knows it, immediately goes to driver's right, tries to hold off an attack here, but Bell is poking and prodding. This is the same attack that we saw Weisenberg throw on the last lap. Here comes Jackson Bell to the outside.
And Weisenberg chases him over to try to side draft a little bit into turn 1. battle on the brakes for first and for third. Goulart and Kohlbecker now. A little touch there between the 55 and the 7. They're side by side for first and third.
Crossover there for Jackson Bell, trying to get to what will be the outside of left of NASCAR bend. Weisenberg, though, later on the binders into that corner. He's going to make it play. Bell looking back again, and there he goes. Weisenberg shuts the door. Bell tries to take more speed around the outside.
Yeah, savvy driving there by Lucas to cover that off, but Jackson Bell went to driver's right, just ran out of opportunity. Now Goulart to third place, so he'll move up another spot here and chase Jackson Bell and Weisenberg up the hill. But this is going to be a dogfight. Think back to Circuit of the Americas. Those two were laying fenders on each other in a pretty fierce brawl that Weisenberg came out on top, at least in the first race.
And this scrapping has allowed for this to almost turn into a 6-car train here, with Ford Koch and Weston Workman closing in as well. But the battle up at the front here, Lucas, Weisenberg, and Jackson Bell, this is going to be fierce. And do not count out Ethan Goulart, this young driver, hungry for a podium. He's looking here, a little bit of a twitch there for Bell.
Yeah, and remember that, the last couple of racetracks we've gone to have had a lot of pavement runoff. You don't have that here. And with how aggressive everyone is at the front of the field, you have to be a little bit concerned that things could come to blows. Maybe Spike Kohlbecker's not in a bad spot in an observation capacity here. Just watch the leaders go at it here, and maybe you'll pick up the pieces of penalties or contact.
Weisenberg able to get the best gap we've seen really any of these leaders have at this point, as he comes down the back straightaway, call it about 2.5 tenths of a second as they dive into the braking zone. Bell gonna get onto the binders. There they go. Top three pretty equidistant, although Goulart carries a little bit more speed through roller coaster.
Yeah, Workman tried a look at Koch into turn 14, but wasn't able to do it, so they'll stay line astern for now. And I think the intensity is calmed for the moment, with 29 minutes to go. A long ways left in this race, but the intensity of the restart has started to cool just slightly.
Yeah, it is. Here comes Jackson Bell, though, through hog pen and onto the main straightaway on attack mode again. He knows what Weisenberg wants to do, and he challenges him down to the inside. This could be the move for Bell. Bell gets his elbows out, movement there in the back. Bell forces him wide. Goulart looks down to the inside.
Yeah, Goulart's going to pick up both these cars, pick the pocket of the 46 and the 7, but now Jackson Bell takes the lead, and this is what I said earlier. You can't let Bell get a couple of corners all on his own. Contact there. Here comes Weisenberg back to the inside.
Lucas Weisenberg not to be denied, but in denied he is by Jackson Bell. Shuts the door, and a big concertina effect back through the rest of these top 6. But look at this. Bell, Weisenberg, Goulart, Kohlbecker, Koch, and Workman, they're all on top of each other.
Talking to the race director, she was saying that she didn't want to play track mom here, but sometimes you've got to have a little bit of a maternal attitude towards some of these drivers as they make their way up in their motorsport career. Just controlling the emotions here, because they've already laid fenders on each other just a little bit. Now remember that contact isn't allowed here, so you've got to be cautious not to get too overzealous, because it's intense, it's fun, it's a blast to race here at Toyota GR Cup. We got to do it clean and fair up here at the front. Ford Koch, Weston Workman, and look at Workman, fastest lap of the race so far.
And a little bit of a tire mark there on the right side of the car, just showing you how elbows out this race has been thus far. All right, that's the first time we've seen everybody not kick up dirt on the exit of Oak Tree, so credit where credit's due. Jackson Bell immediately into the dragon move, maybe taking a few notebooks, a few lessons there for some other series, weaving back and forth, trying to break the draft.
Yeah, the draft here in this car isn't necessarily an overpowering effect, but it certainly will assist. You see Goulart now close on Weisenberg. He's going to sweep out to driver's left. Lucas is going to stay on driver's right here. I think driver's right's the place to be. Lucas hard on the brakes and washes out a little, but this is what I'm talking about. If they fight like this, Jackson Bell's gone.
Yeah, this is exactly what Jackson wants to see in his rear view mirror, is there was almost a little bit of, I think there was a little bit of contact between Koch and Kohlbecker as they came together. Now, this has been the primary overtaking opportunity coming out of Hogpen. Let's see who gets the run. Bell in his own zip code right now. He's feeling confident. I think the car to watch here is going to be Ford Koch.
Yeah, keep an eye on that 21. Now, I'm curious to watch Goulart now. He knows that they've lost about a second to Jackson Bell. He's not going to. I thought he'd stay in line with all the experience he's gotten in one-make racing, that you can't let the leader get away. But he's going to go to the inside, muscle Weisenberg just a little bit. Koch does the same to Kohlbecker. Here comes Workman for 2 at once.
Oh, that's a good move from Weston Workman, but bails out of it. Goes down to the inside, tries to follow Kohlbecker through on the inside. That's going to put the 21 of Koch a little bit offline, and Weston Workman's going to pick his pocket.
Yeah, so Workman is going to get Koch here, I think, unless Ford can hang on to driver's right through turn 5. He will not quite do it. And track out to the left edge of the road and straight line it through Snake here. So Goulart to second, Weisenberg to third, Jackson Bell has a 9/10 of a second advantage over second and third now, and his focus is just to run clean qualifying laps for the next 26 minutes. Have fun. It's tough.
Welcome to the battle, Jackson Tovo, side by side with Koch, coming up the Rising S's.
Math doesn't work there. Someone's going to have to cut. It's Koch. Jackson Tovo goes through. You just can't do it. The math doesn't work. The physics don't work. Side by side through the S's is tough math for anybody. But Jackson Tovo gets the elbows out. Turned 15 today, and he's up in position.
Fearless from Jackson Tovo. Absolutely fearless in that Nitro Motorsports machine. So he's going to bring the car back onto Madison Avenue right now. And now we have a break in the action with Tovo leading the way here in this second group. Koch, Weir, the other Tovo, Ethan Tovo, and Max Stallone having a great top 10 run.
Max Stallone popping in the number 88, the PT Autosport by Copeland car. His first race weekend with this team and this car combination up to the top 10, so a very strong go. You mentioned Ethan Tovo just ahead, so both the Tovos inside the top 10. Their best run so far of the season if they can hang on to it just like this.
Isabella Robusto also hanging on to the back of that group. Don't forget her from that she's in that blue machine in the back there that you can see. But we keep our eyes up in front on that number 31 of Jackson Tovo. Something tells me Ford Koch has got his blood up a little bit and he wants to get that position back.
Yeah, it's been intense, hasn't it? You know, something about VIR, you know, I said this to you yesterday, DJ, that it's a place that really rewards aggression in some places, but there are other sectors on this track where if you step even a millimeter over, it will punish you in a big way. So figuring out for these young drivers, sorting out where you can be aggressive and where you can lunge on the brakes, where you can attack the curbing, that's what's going to find you speed there. And really, it's a race to see who can figure it out first. That's really all this has been the last couple of years here.
And Christian Weir trying to be able to find a little bit of a run here on the 21 of Ford Koch. I want to point out, by the way, that car, you may recognize that is in association with the Race to End Alzheimer's. Names on that car of those who have been affected by that disease, raising money to try to battle and research to end Alzheimer's. So I want to shout that out there for Christian. It's Export Racing.
Something that's affected my family as well, so it's been very, very close to home, and I think that's true for a lot of people around the world. So Christian Weir giving that car a good run here in 8th place for the moment, with Koch just ahead, Jackson Tovo on that charge up the S's. And Isabella Robusto in the background of that blue car. I thought I saw the bodywork on the right rear.
I saw that as well.
Just had a little bit of a touch with someone earlier in the day to loosen that bodywork.
Weir closing in on the back there, the 21 of Koch. Maybe thought about a move down to the inside. This is where this is going to pop off, I think. A couple of drivers going a little bit wide there. Robusto there in that RVA Graphics by Speed Syndicate machine, keeping things nice and level. But keep an eye on Christian Weir. And also behind Ethan Tovo for Nitro Motorsports.
Did you notice something, DJ?
What?
We're watching this battle for P6, P7, P8. Why is that? Because the leaders have all gotten in line trying to run Jackson Bell back down. So,
and they're doing it.
And they're
too.
doing it, exactly.
Side by side, here comes, that is going to be Weir down to the inside.
Oh, little contact.
Oh, and coming on through is the 113 of Ethan Tovo. Says, thank you very much. I'll take that position.
Yeah, as Calvin would call that, a little argy-bargy down there at turn 14. We're past Ford Koch and move him up a spot, and we go back to the battle for second. Goulart over Weisenberg, 0.8 of a second, the difference up to Jackson Bell. 23 minutes to go, plenty of time still, but again, we talked about the intensity cooling down once a driver gets an advantage that's far enough away to almost be out of the draft. These drivers well know that if someone gets out ahead of the draft, gets away from the rest of the battles, it's hard to run them back down. So think back to Lucas Weisenberg's first win here in 2023. He ran Gresham Wagner down from seconds back just by being able to focus on his line, not fighting with other drivers.
Exactly, and crucially here, this gap between Bell and Goulart was up at over a second earlier on, and it's now come down to just under 7.5 tenths. So this is starting to close a little bit. We've seen it kind of yo-yo a little bit around this 7/10 of a second. We'll have to see if Goulart's able to do it. And I think for Weisenberg, he's content right now if he is able to keep bringing this in. But if Weisenberg sees that Goulart is failing and trying to pull that in, he may make the move. May also be the holder of our fastest lap of the race, which is Spike Colbeck.
I'll tell you, if he wasn't in a bright yellow car, I'd say he's the dark horse here. He can't be exactly in camouflage around here, I'll say that, with the Vanguard Engines livery on it, but he is just lurking back there, isn't he? Waiting for these front three to spice things up again. Bell off course a little at the exit of Oak Tree. It hasn't slowed him down a whole lot, but it did cost him some time there.
Well, as they crossed over, it was 5.5 tenths of a second. The gap down from about 7.5 tenths of a second when they crossed the start-finish line. Let's see as they cross over into that sector 2 mark, what's going to happen. Goulart's charging him down big time here. I think this gap's going to be around 2.5 tenths of a second for Goulart. It's game on.
Yeah, dangle the carrot in front of Goulart. He's not going to wait around. He's going to go for this lead. He's got Tech Sport Racing teammates elsewhere in the field, but nobody to work with up here at the moment, so he is going to go for this lead, I'll bet, and force Jackson Bell to go on the defense, and that's why Weisenberg and Kohlbecker will have some more cars in the windshield battling to look forward to in a moment.
Yeah, and I think for Weisenberg and Kohlbecker, they want this battle to take place. They want the two of these drivers to slow themselves down and to be able to pounce on it. We've already seen the aggression today from Lucas Weisenberg. He knows that if this battle fires off, he's got a real chance to win this race.
Into turn 1, Goulart really good on the brakes there. Dives in a little sooner into the first corner, but he's less than a car length back from Jackson Bell as they navigate Horseshoe. And all of a sudden, Jackson Bell thought he was going to drive away, looks up in the rearview mirror, sees that purple and white car trailing in behind. So battle back on here at the front.
All right, both drivers tracking out very wide there at the exit of NASCAR Bend. Comes back through left hook and through the right-hander that leads us into Snake. That gap down to about 0.3 of a second. I think it's a lot less than that. Just wait for the next timing line to be tripped. Goulart all over the back of Jackson Bell.
So Goulart's been taking notes. Every time we go to Oak Tree, that's where Jackson Bell seems to be making just little mistakes. And those little mistakes will be compounded when you are distracted by a car in your rearview mirror, and about the only thing Bell can see is the blinking 72 in the Luma rank here as they navigate through South Bend. Big lateral slide for the 7.
Yeah, but he carried good speed. I mean, look at that. He's able to carry a little bit more of a gap over Goulart. Goulart's going to take that look. Little shutters on both cars. Goulart has a better line through Oak Tree. Here we go.
Yeah, again, that 7, Bell just struggling with grip. Down a spin, and almost a spin. Christian Weir got tagged and sent sideways, keeps the car straight, gets back on the road, loses a couple spots.
All right, back up to the front of the field. Here comes Ethan Goulart. Is he going to try to make the move here? Yep, he's going to poke his nose to what will be the outside of Roller Coaster. Goulart in the white and purple. Earlier on the binders, and Bell just muscles his way on by.
I think there might have been a little contact there side by side too. That's a tough area to go in there door to door, because if you're on the right, the track kind of drops away from your favor, so it's tough to do that without kind of running afoul. And there is a little fender crinkle on the right front of the 72, and I don't think Goulart will be stoked about that either. So 18 minutes to go, rules of engagement declared, battle on.
I will also say, though, Goulart does have the fastest Sector 1 and Sector 2 of the race, so we know he's got speed through that section. Equidistant, though, between Bell, Goulart, and Weisenberg. Ooh, that was...
The chess match is on. They're starting to make moves down the straightaway. And
Bell goes off!
And that was just maybe just checking the mirror, missed the braking zone, and off and away he went at turn 1.
Credit where credit's due, though. We saw Livio Galante get swamped out there. Bell's able to keep it rolling, and that will keep him up into about 5th place, I think.
That was a critical mistake there. Just, I think, got distracted. But let's have another look at it here in just a moment's time as Goulart was all over the racetrack. Look at him, left, right. Bell took one last look in the rear view, went to the brakes, and it was a hair too late, couldn't stop.
This is what we always talk about when you are that car behind, darting this way and that way. Whether or not you have intention to make that pass, it's really about trying to distract the driver, and I think Goulart played that to perfection.
We always joke in the grassroots world, show him you're crazy, and that's what Goulart did, left and right, and Bell had to check one more time before he committed to the brakes which side of the road Goulart was committing to, and Goulart hadn't committed yet, and that confused Jackson Bell just enough to make a mistake, the tiniest mistake that cost him 4 spots.
All right, now it's a question of what can Lucas Weisenberg do, and will he be able to show the same kind of pressure to back Goulart? Great run for Weisenberg coming through Oak Tree. Here they go. There's Jackson Bell, by the way. That's all the ground he's got to try to make up.
Yeah, I'd hesitate to say it's over. 17 minutes to go. These 4 drivers have been pretty aggressive. And look who's slowly creeping forward. Weston Workman. You talked about the championship fight earlier. Now advantage Weston. Not by a lot, but by enough to extend the points lead if things finished as they were. So Goulart, Weisenberg, Kohlbecker, Workman, top 4 into roller coaster.
All right, equidistant really between the top 4 as they plunge down the hill once more. But this is where we've seen the major attacks start to take place. It's this run through hog pen that sets everything up. Goulart gets a really good run there. Watch Weston Workman. He may have a little bit of a play on the back of Spike Kohlbecker.
I think you're right. That Ndava, number 13 from BSI Racing, fresh off of the weekend sweep in Central Florida last month. On the charge here on Spike Kohlbecker in the Vanguard Engines RVA Graphics Motorsports by Speed Syndicate car. Workman goes the long way around, and Spike is really deep contact with Weisenberg.
Ooh, big puff of smoke there. That's going to set Weisenberg offline. And I get the sense there Spike kind of backed out a little bit and gave him that position back.
Spike clearly didn't mean to get down there that deep. And the problem for Lucas, I'm really curious to see how tight the bolts on the suspension are, in specifically the alignment bolts, because he got hit in the wheel. And what you don't want is to knock the camber and caster out of that right rear wheel. And that can really force the car to do funny things, especially in the high-speed corners there. So got clobbered in the wheel, better than the bodywork in some instances, but we'll see how much that alignment will hold up. How tight do they torque those things down at Lucas Racing?
Christian Weir down into pit lane, it looks like.
Yeah, that was after contact with the 113 of Ethan Tovo. That was what we saw up at turn 12 at Oak Tree. That incident is under investigation, and I just wonder if maybe there was a flat or something that came from that.
All right, well, battle stagnating a little bit between first and second, but the battle for third is still on. Weston Workman wants this position away from Spike Kohlbecker, especially considering the fact that his closest rival in the championship, Jackson Bell, now sits in 5th place behind him. Credit where credit's due, though. That gap was about 4.5 seconds with Jackson Bell up to Weston Workman. It's now down to 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, the other thing to consider is there was that contact could potentially fall under review of the stewards between Spike Kohlbecker and Lucas Weisenberg there, so that would not be in Spike's favor, I'd have to imagine. Sector 2 time, actually, advantage Weisenberg, so things seem to be holding together quite nicely, and some time to make up, but Weisenberg is doing it.
Good run here for Weston Workman coming down the hill, really able to carry good momentum out of roller coaster. Don't know if he's going to be able to attack out of it. Certainly not going to be able to get a pass as they go through hog pen, but he just needs to carry that momentum, and carry that momentum he does. He's already going to be thinking about side-by-side before they even get to pit entry.
Yeah, he tried to do that, couldn't quite get there. A little bit of dimples on the front nose of that 13. He's been bump drafting so far, but here he comes up, driver's left on Kohlbecker. Kohlbecker stays hard right, braking duel into one.
All right, who has got the later right foot? Looking for the crossover is the number 13 of Weston Workman. Down to the inside, he's going to try to carry that speed. It looks like he's got the position. Yes, he does have it.
About as textbook as a crossover gets here at VIR, so move Workman up into 3rd place. And again, championship seasons look a lot like this. You had a day that didn't seem like it was going to turn out all that great. You just keep forging ahead and pick up whatever you can get. You try not to drive beyond the means of your car. Sometimes if you got a 5th place car, you got to take it 5th instead of getting a 20th trying to get 3rd.
Championships are made on your worst days. If you can maximize your worst day, you're going to have a good championship run. 13.5 minutes left to go. Jackson Bell only 1.6 seconds behind this battle right here. Bell is charging.
Yeah, to your point, championships are won on your worst days. Weston Workman's worst day is a 6th.
Exactly.
So that'll certainly help.
Look at this from Ethan Goulart, though. 0.99 seconds up in front. He's almost got a full second on the rest of this field.
It was larger than that, though, after the Weisenberg contact at 1. So Lucas hasn't charged back up there, but he is eating away at it, although lost a 10th last time around through Sector 1. But Sector 2's been where Weisenberg's been a little quicker. Up on the backstretch, Jackson Bell in recovery mode here, and I told you he wasn't done. He's only 2.3 back after that mistake. So give him credit where credit's due.
All right. Looks like the Christian Weir incident, by the way, between him and Ethan Tova is going to be reviewed post-race. I just saw that flash up across the screen. So
look at some onboard there, but 0.2 quicker for Lucas in Sector 2, and you see now on screen 0.8, 0.7, a little bit of a gain for the 46 up to roller coaster. Goulart's better in the first section, and give the other 2 back to Weisenberg.
We'll have to see as they carry on down onto the main straightaway here. We'll get another idea of what that gap has come down to when they cross the start-finish line. Let's wait and see, as it looks just visually like Weisenberg's been able to pull that down a little bit closer. Yeah, about 6/100ths of a second Weisenberg's been able to take off. There are your top 5 all in single frame. That's Tovo and Ford Koch behind them. That's the battle for 6th, as that's Ford taking a look down to the inside.
So then here comes Stallone, Isabella Robusto, and Ethan Tovo in the 113. And Isabella's Woodfin 86 has the rear bumper tabs kind of popped out. I don't even know if there was a lot of contact there, just the tabs came loose. It's the exact same bodywork you have on a stock GR86. Nothing race car there. That's road car, and like most of the rest of it, to be honest, other than the JRI shocks, the Alcon brakes, the Sadev sequential, and a couple aero bits. These cars retain so much of their road-going components, including the engine, which is factory stock like you get in the dealership.
I want to give some credit here to Max Stallone. This is his first time racing an anger in this car, and he has had a prolific run up through the field. This is a really good run here, and kind of coming to what we expect from PT Autosport. They've got a great eye for drivers. Look at Henry Drury last year, some really impressive race performances, and now Stallone. Anybody that's racing with PT Autosport is somebody that we need to sit up and pay attention to.
Yeah, certainly a top 10 run in a field this competitive in your opening round is impressive. And Isabella Robusto, she's raced with us before a couple of seasons ago, back in 2023. She's been pulling double duty, was racing elsewhere in the oval racing world last night. And again, she's popped back over to VIR to run this event here this weekend. Battle for the lead down to 2/10. Weisenberg's back.
Weisenberg back into it, into the braking zone, into roller coaster. Just about a car length in between the two as they plunge down the hill right now. Slipping and sliding there a little bit is Lucas Weisenberg. He knows he's got about 9/10ths of a second between himself and Weston Workman. Kyle, that buys you about one move.
Yeah, one move, and if it doesn't work, now you got a 4-car race again. So
yep.
Lucas knows this. He's been in the series for 3 years now. This is the 3rd season of the series and Lucas's involvement with it. Won a handful of races. The first race he ever won came here in 2023, as we pointed out, and in a very similar way where he had to track down a driver and pass them at the tail end of the race. But Ethan Goulart comes from one-make racing where, you know, it's all about driver skill and talent, and he's got a lot of racecraft here. So he's been quick. This is sort of a home event for him, and right now he's got his rear views packed full of Segra 46.
I want to give credit to Goulart. I was going to criticize him a little bit for a narrower line coming down at a horseshoe, but he ran a defensive line and defended it well and didn't really lose any position to Lucas Weisenberg. Workman started to come on. Oh, and there, Jackson Bell has made the position around Spike Kohlbecker. He's up to 4th.
I'm impressed with this drive for Jackson. I know the Oak Tree area was a challenge today, but that mistake he made was big enough to drop him outside of the top 5, and he's done or at least to the tail end of it, and he's done a nice job recovering, getting right back up on the horse. And he has to, because Weston Workman is still ahead of him, so he needs to keep that gap as small as possible so that he doesn't lose a lot of championship points here as we get to the halfway point of the season at the conclusion of this race. That's the halfway point.
Oh, look at how good Weisenberg was onto the binders into Oak Tree. Just carried so much speed through that section of the track. Dips a tire off into the outside grass. Well, it's really dirt there at this point, but going to carry on Madison Avenue, and Goulart employing that dragon move, weaving back and forth.
Up the backstretch, Weston Workman is closing, though. I thought that Weisenberg and Goulart would have some time to themselves, but the championship leader is coming. That 13 car from BSI Racing. Boy, he shook off more than just the nerves at Sebring, didn't he? There's no more anchor of expectation at this stage. He has definitely done it. He's a winner in Toyota GR Cup North America, and here he comes, chasing Lucas Weisenberg and Ethan Goulart for the race lead. 8 minutes to go.
Want to give a big credit here to race control. A warning being issued to the 55 of Spike Kohlbecker for causing a collision. Kyle, I think that's the right call. Kohlbecker gave that position back. It was very sporting in the way that it did. Race control has acknowledged that that was a Cummings together, and I think that's the right call across the board.
You certainly earn yourself some brownie points if you go, oopsie, my bad, and you give the spot back, and I think Kohlbecker did just that, and just shows the kind of racing that Spike likes to do, fair, clean, and that probably saved him from a bigger penalty, rather than just driving right on by and taking it as an advantage. So 3 cars in this battle for the front. I'm sure Weisenberg would really like to just look out the windshield, but I don't think he has that to afford anymore. Yeah,
he really doesn't. Workman is starting to close in on him here. That gap is down to, I would say, maybe 0.2 of a second as they climb up the hill right now. Not going to be able to get that move done probably until roller coaster.
Yeah, the other thing for Workman, you know, if you're eyeing a race win, I don't think you can afford to spend a lot of time messing with Weisenberg either. You have to make a decisive pass. But Weisenberg's not going to give this up. He's got no teammates around here. Neither do the others, to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, we got 5 different teams in the top 5 right now. 6 different teams, technically. Nitro Motorsports with Tovo. So parity is excellent here between the teams in this race.
Another good run there for Weisenberg coming out of Oak Tree. Goulart immediately over to driver's right, then back to driver's left. Again, trying to break that draft a little bit. And normally I'm not a proponent of this move. I don't think it works, but it looks like it's working for Goulart. He's able to get away a little bit.
Comes with the experience, knows how to get it done. Maybe not necessarily in the series because he's only had a handful of entries before the run here this year. But coming from a background where you're running low horsepower cars in big packs, you have to know all the strategy moves to get that job done. But he is absolutely on defense right now. He cannot focus over the nose of his GR86. He is watching that rear view, and that's part of the talent. You have to keep your eyes up.
And that was the best run out of roller coaster that I've seen thus far for Lucas Weisenberg. But coming down through Hogpen, it looked like Goulart was able to gather everything back up underneath him. But here comes Weston Workman, maybe looking out of the inside. No, it's not going to play out. Does Weisenberg decide to send a move? Defensive line for Goulart down into turn 1. Weisenberg just going to try to roll speed around the outside, looks for the crossover. Brilliant from Ethan Goulart, parking that car at the apex, deliberately slowing it down a little bit and delaying and postponing that crossover from Lucas Weisenberg.
Hey DJ, I knew Toyota GR Cup racing game was a 4-player game because here comes Jackson Bell. We had one more frame to fill, didn't we? And
yeah,
here he comes. And he's picked up the controller and he's back in the fight here just on the tail end of the draft of Weston Workman. So give it a lap or two and the 7 is back in the fight, believe it or not, after that slip up a couple of laps ago.
It's really a testament here to the driving ability of Jackson Bell. We kind of wrote him out of this, and he has just head down, foot to the floor, driven the wheels off of this number 7.
Got to keep him on for 4.5 more minutes. Hopefully they all stay bolted to the chassis as we go around up over the top of South Bend. And I bet you the drivers up here are doing the same thing. Just checking the rear view and seeing the orange and blue coming.
Ooh, a little squiggly there for Goulart. Fast lap of the race set by Weston Workman from BSI Racing. They are on top of each other here coming down Madison Avenue.
Yeah, Weston's got the fastest lap, but only by 1/10 of a second. 2:08.5, 2:08.5, 2:08.4 for the top 3, so they are incredibly consistent.
Here comes Workman.
Not waiting around anymore. BSI Racing's 13 car, Weston Workman, swept at Sebring, going for second now with 4 minutes to go.
He's going to have a look here into roller coaster, but that is not Lucas Weisenberg going quietly. Can he get it slowed down? How did he get it slowed down? That was amazing from Weisenberg.
Just dropped anchor there into roller coaster. Put the brakes on, and boy, did they come on.
Wow. Impressive stuff from Lucas Weisenberg. The only downside in that is they've allowed Ethan Goulart to slip off just a little bit.
They have 2 laps by the looks of it. 3 minutes, 42 seconds left on the clock. A lap time here about 2 minutes and 8 seconds and change. So give or take 6.5 miles. And I don't think Weisenberg and Workman have any opportunity to battle. They need to work together if they want to have a shot at the win. Otherwise, second's all they're going to be racing for here by the looks of it.
Looked like a little bit of a puff of smoke there off the back of Lucas Weisenberg's car under braking.
His car's been doing that most of the year. I'm not super worried about it, but again, it has been a thing.
Yeah.
I don't notice the other cars doing it so much.
Yeah, just a little bit interesting, something to keep an eye on. Jackson Bell officially there, and this is what's crucial. Bell needs to get by Workman for the championship.
Well, that's the other thing, is Workman, you know, I'm not sure how much they're thinking about the title fight in this exact moment, but if you are thinking about it, Weston Workman doesn't really care about Goulart and Weisenberg right now. His immediate concern is Jackson Bell. Yeah. Not that this position, this isn't going to be enough to swap the championship around, but it would make inroads for Bell to get by Workman here in the last 2 laps of this race.
Yeah, eat into that championship lead. But Workman, great run here through the Rising S's on the back of Lucas Weisenberg.
Big slide for Weisenberg. He's so comfortable on the limit. We saw that early on in the race where he just chucked it in every hole he could find in the field. And he's been up here despite a couple of challenges, and he's back. I think Weisenberg is going to have a run at Goulart as long as he doesn't have to deal with Workman or Bell, but they might be preoccupied with each other.
I don't think he's going to have to worry about it. I don't think he's close enough to get the run on Goulart here at this point.
Not yet, but soon.
That was a really, really good line through Oak Tree for Lucas Weisenberg. They will be coming back to the white flag here on this lap. So one more lap to go for all of these drivers up in the top four. Goulart leads from Weisenberg, Workman, and Bell down into the compression at the end of roller coaster. Bell onto the back of Workman, that matters for the championship. Weisenberg onto the back of Goulart, that matters for the lead.
Yeah, and certainly Weisenberg's not very far out of the championship, and he would make up a pretty big gain here on Workman. That's a pretty sizable difference. That's a 10-point swing for Weisenberg to catch Workman here, but here they come, DJ.
All right, as they cross over the start-finish stripe, white flag in the air. I don't know if anybody's close enough to have a look down into Horseshoe. Maybe the only one's going to be Jackson Bell. Defensive line for Weston Workman. Bell tries to look, gets the crossover. How you doing there from the number 7?
Oh, Weston saw that coming. He just dropped anchor in the middle of the Horseshoe to keep the 7 from over-undering there. Well done, but that's going to leave Weisenberg all alone to chase down Goulart.
Bell thought about a look down to the inside there in NASCAR Bend. That didn't play out either. And I think you're right. That move is ostensibly broken this quartet into a couplet.
Yeah, Goulart's been a little better than Weisenberg through the first sector, and I think that's going to be true again. A little bit of a gain that time for Goulart. And as long as he can get to roller coaster ahead of Weisenberg, he probably can hang on for his first ever win in this championship a year after he debuted for this Tech Sport Racing team. It's been a while since we've seen Tech Sport in Victory Lane. Can they do it here today?
Yeah, this is really all going to come down to roller coaster. I have to agree with you. Goulart putting the car through its paces. There's that number 72 up through South Bend. Good line there for Goulart. Look at that advantage. He starts to stretch. Jackson Bell, though, looking to the back of Weston Workman. He's going to try to roll speed. A little bit of a wiggle for Bell.
Look at Weisenberg. He had a whole handful of counter steer grabbing that car, trying to carry speed. It did not pay off. And now Workman weaving on the back straightaway to keep his championship rival at bay.
And I love this. You see a little bit of weaving from Goulart, and you see absolutely none of it from Lucas Weisenberg. He's just sticking in line. Goulart, big advantage up in front. I think unless Weisenberg sends an absolute dive bomb, he may be able to hold on to this. The same can't be said for Weston Workman, as it looks like Jackson Bell thought about a little bit of a move. That won't play out. Here they go, 1, 2, 3, 4, down into roller coaster. Goulart rolling speed down through the left-hander. Here he goes into the right-hander of Hogpen for the final time. Ethan Goulart on the loud pedal onto the start-finish straightaway. Weisenberg trying to close in. I don't think he's going to be close enough. Jackson Bell thinking about trying to close it, but he's not going to be close enough. And for the first time anywhere in GR Cup North America, it's Ethan Goulart taking victory.
Yeah, VIR has been a proving ground for the drivers earning their first win. It was Weisenberg here in 2023 that got his first, and it was not his last. Could this open the floodgates for Ethan Goulart to potentially charge forward to the championship? 5th coming into this race. Ford Koch, Jackson Tovo 6th and 7th. And hard-fought battles all through the field. This was a hands-on battle today. And trouble for Patrick Brunson up at roller coaster in the tire bundles there in that gold and black number 93. That's heartbreak here on the final lap of the race.
Yeah, it is. There's Jensen Sofronis trying to hold off Carl Foreman as they come down through Hogpen right now. This will be a 13th place run for Jensen, and that blue number 41 machine going to cross over the stripe right now and hold off that attack. Behind them, Sinceri, and then James Klimas looks like he'll be a little bit farther back. There's another look there at that number 93.
Yeah, the roller coaster is a race. Oh, contact from the 51 of Sinceri. I was going to say this is a race to it, not through it, and just a miscalculation on the binders, and off the bumper of the BSI Racing 51 goes the 93, and will end their day a couple hundred feet too early. But Ethan Goulart, what a talent. And we knew this last year when he was running up inside the top 5 on debut. And he has been in the mix all year long, finally breaking through. And again, ahead of championship drivers like Lucas Weisenberg, like others to note as well. Just taking a note of some timing and scoring things there. But anyway, Goulart, Weisenberg, top 2. And we'll take you through the results here in a few minutes' time. But again, he'll be soaking this one in, DJ, because your first win, you never forget that one.
No, you certainly don't. And it was a well-fought win with an aggressive move off the downbeat as they just pushed their way forward. It was a very, very good run. Let's take a look at those final results there. Goulart, Weisenberg, Workman, crucially Workman ahead of Jackson Bell. Despite Kohlbecker, not really a factor in the end, coming home in P5.
Yeah, it was up there in the mix, certainly, and had a moment to taste the lead, but comes home P5 over Ford Koch, Jackson Tovo, Will Robusto, and Isabella Robusto, the brother and sister duo, 8th and 9th. Max Stallone on debut for PT Autosport, P10, DJ.
Yeah, it's a good result for Max Stallone. Ethan Tovo, Beltre Curtis, Jensen Sofronis. We saw Sofronis able to hold off that attack from Carl Foreman. Massimo Sinceri, that one may be under a little bit of threat, courtesy of that contact we saw with Patrick Brunson. James Klimas, Peyton Finn, John Lennon, and Christian Weir rounding out your top 20 with Brunson back in 20th. Kowalski, Schweid, Galanti, and Ayers a non-starter there.
Yeah, real shame for Schweid, qualified 3rd, but that contact down at turn 1, ending his day a little early. And the 72 of Ethan Goulart popping in. DJ, let's have a look at the race highlights from race 1 of GR Cup.
There is nothing like racing at Virginia International Raceway, and it was a chaotic beginning of this race. Jackson Bell going off at the beginning, losing a couple of positions, and then it was a absolute street fight. Lucas Weisenberg not being denied through left hook, through NASCAR bend, keeping up the fight as much as possible. Bell running wide into Horseshoe after recovering there. That sent him back to the back of the field, but he wasn't done. Contact up and down through the order.
Yeah, lots of shuffling here, a little bit of mirrors traded. Both these drivers were noted for some race control topics there. You see the 46 to Lucas Weisenberg, moving his way back by Weston Workman, but Goulart, again, job well done in this 72, holding off the 46.
Yeah, just absolutely withstood all kinds of pressure, and it was impressive. And there you see climbing from the car, Ethan Goulart, big fist pumps there. It's a very happy driver, I would have to imagine, to take the first victory in Toyota GR Cup North America. And there you see Lucas Weisenberg ready to come over and congratulate him. Those are two drivers that had a lot of fun out there.
They really did. And what an epic drive from Ethan Goulart. And how aggressive was it? Drivers leaning on each other, pushing, shoving, breaking duels, drafting battles, a little 3 wide here and there. That's a hard-earned, hard-fought victory at a track that's special to him and his family, and to Tech Sport Racing, too.
Yeah, getting some big heads up and hellos from everybody on the track. Got to get the big hugs from the team owners there as well. As let's send down to Amanda Busick, who is with our winner.
And it is a first-time winner here in Virginia in GR Cup for Ethan Goulart. And I want to go back to that miscue by Jackson Bell, and you were right there to take advantage of it. How well did you set that up on him?
Yeah, I was just trying to distract him as much as possible, try to get under pressure, put him under pressure. And I went left under the brake zone, then went right last second. I think he looked at the mirrors and just overshot it. And we were able to take that, and then we were able to run away from there, hold off Lucas and Weston. It was a tough race, hot, but we made it work. I can't thank this Tech Sport Racing team enough. All the hard work they put in after my mistake in qualifying, getting a penalty. I told them I'd give it back to them. We did it. Octopode Life and Legacy, GR Performance Parts, SCDA Track Days, Cazaro, Deals TEC Equipment, Toyota, GR Cup for putting on this great event. I can't thank them enough.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, he said it all, and that's going to be about all from us. On behalf of DJ Clark and Kyle Heyer, we'll be back with you tomorrow, but this has been Toyota GR Cup North America. We'll see you down the road.